Oh yeah, the good stuff. It's kind of hot out here. All right, let's go Delta Airlines. Oh, still got some sprinkles in there. So now that it's 2026, I've decided to revisit the different dystopian movies that actually came out in the past 4 years. It was produced by a studio, or it was funded by a studio that was no less funded by Barack and Michelle Obama, and it was called Leave the World Behind. It was a film that was basically talking about a dystopian United States, right, in which everything is on the brink of collapse. And I originally watched Leave the World Behind and this other film, Civil War 2024. I watched them as an asleep Mogwai at the time, right? So I was like, oh, look at that. Like, they're just being so woke. I was poking fun at it. But now I'm looking at these films and they're like, the timing on them, they aged quite well, especially Leave the World Behind with the cyber grid attacks going down, and the different references there were to a sinister secret cabal that is in control of basically the entire world, and they had satellite phones and other people didn't. And it was very foretelling of a not so distant future for the United States. And then the other one was Civil War 2024, that, yeah, it featured a United States divided, even the military being divided. And what got me as an asleep Mogwai, keep in mind, is that in the film Civil War, they portrayed the president who was the antagonist as what appeared to be a white Judeo-Christian nationalist populist figure that basically everybody hated. And the military in the film was divided. And, being asleep at the time, I'm like, okay, this is Obama poking fun at another future Trump presidency, right? And it was just basically the woke mob getting their licks in, not only using this film, which was predictive programming, but to get some shots across pre-election, right? And now I watch the movies, having woken up about the Epstein files, this administration, who was involved, who wasn't involved, this, that, the other. Now I'm truly a little shook, because Civil War 2024 is basically our reality now, in which everybody in the United States is waking up to something that I've been talking about for a while now. And as a result, what is going to take place now are what you could consider to be false flag attacks, because nobody's buying it anymore. The narratives, everybody's awake. Pretty much everybody knows there are no innocents involving the Epstein files. So when I watched this film, Leave the World Behind, and knowing that it was made by the Obama administration, and knowing that it was predictive programming, like, I knew that this would be our future, because they have to tell you what it is they're doing in real time as they're doing it. And Civil War was another film that had woke agendas in it, in terms of the character development and the different identities of the characters, and the president appearing to basically be more or less the president we have now. That, to me, was somebody somewhere telling you, hey, get ready, because this is actually what is going to take place. And this goes back to, you know, what we're seeing in the news versus what is actually going on in the real world. Distractions, the fog of war, fifth generational warfare, psychological warfare, dark political psychology. And, you know, what I'm telling you is prepare for false flag attacks. Having seen these films, being in a sleep mog idiot, and now seeing the films awake to what this truly is, and everybody waking up to this foreign occupation, it spells to me false flags. And I don't even know if I'm going to even be able to make it to my vacation. I hope I make it to my vacation, but at this point, we're looking down the barrel of a major false flag attack. And, like, I'm telling everybody to stay vigilant, because if you're awake to what I'm awake to, it's likely they know that you're awake to it. They know we're awake to it. And now what they need next, what they need more than ever, is a false flag attack to scare everybody, to get everybody back under control through fear and chaos. And, you know, it sucks, really, because, like, yeah, I've been working and I haven't really gone on many trips in a while, and I'm supposed to be going on these gorgeous islands where famous novelists went to write their final memoirs. And, you know, going from being in jail in Fort Myers, Florida, to now going island hopping's a pretty nice thing, but of course not. Of course not. No, now we have to ramp things up with false flag attacks, because you're awake about Zio supremacy. You're speaking about things we told you to not speak about. So now we have to go and ramp up more false flag operations and basically disrupt commerce and travel and everything else, because you won't buy our narrative. How dare you? Yeah, how dare me for noticing that they're a bunch of satanic pedophiles who have no authority over us if they are proven to be guilty of these crimes. Yeah, their rule of law is therefore null and void if they're guilty of committing atrocities and doing horrible things to kids. But yeah, it sucks, man, to start out in a crappy spot in Florida. You know, you go to jail out of the deal, and I'm not a felon, by the way, and then you go and then get to years later, go experience the nicer parts of Florida that are included in the vacation brochure, just in time for your government to start planning false flag attacks because you won't buy their official goy narrative. And that's what I mean. Like, now I can see that the movie Civil War had a lot of accuracies in it that I wish that it didn't have. That, like, see, you understand my point here. My point is that there were things about the film that I have previously dismissed as, oh, they're just being woke. This is just them running their mouths. And then come to find in 2026, the entire country seems to be awake to a certain agenda that now they're all angry with a certain individual about. And now you see the military ranks dissenting and not following orders in the Middle East. And now it's really all coming home to roost. Like, oh my God, the things that I previously dismissed as an asleep Magoy actually ended up being true. So this is me partially telling you that I was wrong about a lot of different things. And, I would say just act accordingly, because now they really are planning some kind of event that is going, because there was I believe it was Old Dominion University. There was a shooting there that the perpetrator already was proven to have some quite interesting associations. Oh yeah, already have been proven to have interesting associations. These recent attacks or these shootings in the past 72 hours or 2 weeks, yeah, they're already proven to have weird Mossad agency alphabet connections, and they were like a patsy, and they were somebody who got mixed up and deranged in some chat room, and there was funding for them, and they were operating with, like I said before, information that would seem privileged, information that would allow them to achieve the highest impact in that attack that they carried out. So we're actually already seeing the false flag attacks happening, and it is because we are not buying the narrative. And it goes all the way back to the Kirk situation and beginning to ask questions with that. It goes back to JFK and who likely was involved with that. It goes back to 9/11 and those people dancing, seemingly in celebration of something that did not yet happen but was to happen in the very moments later. And when people begin to notice these things and not accept the narrative, that's when the false flag attacks ramp up. And now it's interfering with what is going to be a nice little retreat for myself after not being able to really travel out of the state for many years. I don't know how many years it's been, but I haven't seen the ocean in God knows how long, because I'm in the sticks and I'm in the South, right? So yeah, I want to go and enjoy some seafood, and I want to see some clear blue water and go swimming and not have to worry about false flag attacks. Not to mention I'm traveling to the state where, a lot of the ground zeros. There wasn't just one ground zero in this whole thing, but a lot of the ground zeros that happen to be here where, I'm going. Not Palm Beach, but, I started out in a crappy situation in Florida, worked very hard, and built my way up to the point where now I get to go on nice vacations there after seeing the inside of a Fort Myers jail cell for going full Florida. You never go full Florida. Just words from the wise. But I went from a crappy situation like that to now getting to go island hopping, but not until false flag attacks have to happen, of course. Because you, Goyim, you notice our plans. You don't like what we're doing. You won't accept our Goy narrative. So now we're going to attempt to interfere with your quality of life as a result. You won't accept our agenda so that we can usher in the New World Order and a social credit score that will determine whether you will ever get to live life again. 15-minute cities, and you're against that. So now we're going to start to ramp up false flag attacks because you don't accept our narrative. Yeah, but it is truly scary. Go watch those films, Leave the World Behind and Civil War 2024. If you have like a smart TV or a Roku or those little movie streaming apps, like with the little sticks that you have, you can watch it, or you can watch those 2 films for like $3 or whatever. Or you can go to like Hydra HD, and you can, whatever. But watch those films and tell me, like, spot the lie in those films, point out the inaccuracies in those films. No, it gets actually really scary, like down to a T, because they knew something. The people who produce these movies, they know something. Kind of like how The Simpsons calls everything and seemingly predicts things. Yeah, it's the same phenomenon with these films, predictive programming. They're showing you a little peek at the Grand Marshal behind the curtain, the Grand Master, the little man behind the curtain pulling all the big levers, making all the big decisions that they tell you not to pay attention to. But now that you're paying attention to the little man behind the curtains pulling all the big levers, they're pulling out all the big stops. They're pulling, and I guess Robert Mueller is dead. Robert Mueller was originally the director of the FBI and led the special counsel into the investigation of Trump. And originally, as an asleep Mogwai, I dismissed him as a crony and this, that, the other. And some of that may still be true, but now I was actually interested to hear what he had to say, consequent of what seems to be an administration that didn't deliver on any of the promises it ran on. Now I'm actually interested to hear what he had to say, because I know that everybody dies and he was older and stuff, but these are well-fed elected officials. They usually live well into their years. But Robert Mueller is dead at 81 as of today. And, it begs the question, well, what did he really know? Because it's the timing. I know that everybody dies, but it's the timing of his death. And if we're dealing with the people that we're dealing with, right, then that makes you wonder, what did he really know? Much in the same way, what did these people who made the movies Leave the World Behind in Civil War, what did they know? Because they're like messing with you here. There's psychological games going on, because in the end, these evil people have to tell you what their plans are. So because they worship Saturn, this all has to do with weird, kooky Saturn worship. They believe that if they tell you what it is that they're doing, that they get off scot-free. In other words, they're not going to be punished by the Creator for perpetrating what they did to you. So let's say if I had a poison apple, right? And I tell you, hey, this is a poison apple. If you eat this apple, you're going to die or get very sick. And I sell you that apple. And you buy it anyway, and you eat it anyway. In theory, according to their weird magic, nothing happens to me. Like, the Creator isn't going to punish me, and I'm not going to be punished by, like, the laws of the universe, because it's the dark Saturnic wheel of karma. Anyways, these people are really weird. Yeah, and they fondle billy goats, and they cross-dress, and they do all kinds of strange things, like roll around in piles of fish eyes naked, and light each other on fire and everything else, and go to Bohemian Grove, and then magically assume positions in Supreme Court justice seats, and have district attorneys in their pockets nationwide, and have all the leading special counsels on civil rights on retainer, so that when they do get found out for a scandal, all of their storms are weathered for them in advance. So anyways, this was just, like I said, a quick little rundown. Be aware of false flags, and watch those movies Leave the World Behind in Civil War, and spot the inaccuracies, spot the lies in those films, because there's clearly an agenda, and they want you to know. They actually want you to know. So you might as well just figure out what it is that they're trying to tell us. Start with the New World Order, right? Start with the question, why do they want a New World Order? Why do they want to accomplish a New World Order? Why do they want to accomplish world domination? Start with that little rabbit hole. Just go from there. Start with those little crumbs. and then, figure out, what Agenda 2030 is. Figure out what the Fourth Industrial Revolution is. Learn who Klaus Schwab is. Learn why Bill Gates is not allowed in Africa again. Learn why a certain group of people were kicked out of 109 countries because of weird magic practices that have to do with copulation and killing. Eros and Thornatos. Sex and death. The big phenomenons, the wonders of life that they feel if they unlock through this magic that they get infinite power, and that they therefore as a result don't have to exist within the laws of the Goy system. And that's why they call you a Goy, because you have to follow laws, edicts, rules, and mandates that they themselves created. And that's where that whole term came from. Rules for thee, but not for me. And thus we had the storming of the Bastille and King Louis XIV. And we could just go on and on and on into the dynamics of power politics, and we can get into Niccolo Machiavelli's The Prince, or Sun Tzu's The Art of War, until we're blue in the face, until kingdom come, until all is good and well. But this is stuff that's going on in real time. They are planning false flag attacks. I wouldn't go to concerts. I wouldn't be, if you don't have to travel anywhere in the air, don't. I'm not telling you to live in fear and not enjoy your life, but by that same token, that little trip that you had planned, I don't know, find other means of transportation without having to go through federal authority to travel. Because it's like anything that has to do with like infrastructure or federal buildings or any of that, or flying or commerce, I'd stay away from all that right now. I'd drink water and basically mind your business, because what's coming is nasty. I would plan accordingly. Because I sit out here at night on the porch because I love this. I'm like addicted to back here. And I look out in the sky at night while I'm having a smoke, and I see like things, I don't know, like that I wouldn't say are necessarily out of the norm, but a lot of the time, I've seen things back in my old places that didn't add up. And I know that a lot of people in my state have said that they've seen lots of weird things in the sky. Apparently a TR-3B flew over a county not too far from me. A TR-3B is like one of these freakazoid super MIT Wonder Boy projects that now the military and Palantir have acquired. So they can find out if you've been noticing, and therefore not buying their narrative. But yeah, go watch their movies, because I guess that they're very eager to tell you what they have planned for us. But this New World Order thing, it's like, I don't mean to talk about it all the time, but it's relevant. They don't like us. They've done horrible things to kids. They know we found out. They know we're awake to their agendas. They do not like it. And as a result, they are going to do something about it, utilizing one of their many shadowy resources as a means by which to carry out an attack on not just the Goy, but on any American citizen. Any ordinary American citizen that works for a living, that already doesn't like paying taxes, that doesn't like the idea of pedophiles being in your kids' schools, that wants to preserve their own personal demographics, culturally, socially, spiritually, economically, and so on. They're trivializing all that. They're trivializing what it means to be an American nationalist, populist, patriotic person who believes in basic civil liberties, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Declaration of Independence, in that order. They're trivializing that, making you look kooky and weird and spooky, because they're trying to prime you and condition you so that you'll get into the United Nations tent or get on the United Nations railroad car to go to your reconditioning camps that you won't return from. Because both sides of the aisle had this planned for you no matter what. If the other person got elected in our presidential election, all of this just would have happened sooner. It would have just happened sooner, but no, they had to make it so that we got to make sure that it's at least we got to make sure that their demise is at least digestible. So yeah, like I said, I'm trying to maintain my composure. I'm trying not to swear. I'm trying to not be a bad person, because God only knows what tomorrow holds. I hope I get to go on this nice vacation. I hope that everybody gets to stay safe, no matter who you are. You know, I hope that nothing crazy happens. It'll likely be somewhere near a major city. But yeah, prepare for like major false flag attacks, likely within the next 3 days to a week and a half, at least for that time frame. You know, I'd keep your eyes peeled, because they already now know that the average American citizen is awakening to Zio supremacy and the push to use our military as their bloodletting death squads in the name of a third temple. Which is, yeah, like I said before, and we're seeing the ranks, we're seeing the ranks splitting up, we're seeing a divide within that, which you will see in the movie Civil War. We see people not being able to come to sensible conclusions as to what is really going on, like in the movie Civil War. And we will see more cybergrid attacks and false flag attacks like we see in Leave the World Behind. So, you know, and when you know that the press can basically just controlled opposition, and you know that now that they know, you know, that's when they're going to start to even do things like the alien card and everything else. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled. I'm going to go kill this wasp. It's about time. It's been a long time coming with that wasp and these wasps. Pun intended. But yeah, I will have more soon. Keep your eyes peeled, have situational awareness, and don't buy the propaganda. Turn off the news.